right at noon, and good afternoon, financial professionals. I'm Brady Serold, Senior Vice President of Disability Income at E4 Insurance Services. Welcome you to The Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in today. For those joining us the first time, thank you and welcome. We like to start out our brewcast by celebrating today's national days. First one is National Solitaire Day, the card game. I'm sure some of us played this during COVID. Some of us probably play it during team meetings and corporate events. But it's National Solitaire Day. Good relaxation technique, or I guess sometimes I do play it on the airplane every once in a while when you run out of pamphlets to read in the folder little thing in front of you. It's also National Sherlock Holmes Day. Okay, don't know what that means really, but other than he's the sleuth character. And then it's also World Paloma Day. And I guess, I had to do a little Sherlock Holmesing myself this morning, and Steve Walker told me what World Paloma Day is. For those of you that don't know, it is, go ahead, Steve. You tell us what it is today, since it's your favorite drink.
It's a tequila cocktail. Definitely looks flavorful and delicious, but not my cup of tea personally.
Well,
I will not be partaking in World Paloma Day.
Well, to those of you who like tequila, cheers. Today's brew continues our May focus planning series. Steve Walker, Vice President of Institutional Accounts, and I will be discussing a case study on how an inquiry for individual coverage on a new executive at a manufacturing company turned into a 6-life executive guarantee standard issue carve-out. We encourage you to use the chat box or raise a hand to ask questions. All attendees are entered into a drawing for a CE voucher and a Starbucks gift card, and we will announce the winner at the end. Thank you for turning in, and Steve for joining us today.
Absolutely excited to be here and be with you, Brady, and along with all the great advisors that are here live, as well as going to be watching the recording. And really for the case study to kind of kick it off. I mean, it was really a fun one. Towards the end of last year, into 2023, I had an advisor that I've worked with for a while now call me and asking about disability insurance for a new executive at a manufacturing company. They had some stuff in place for some of their existing executives. I knew there was a lot of questions that needed to be asked to get the most accurate illustration, and more importantly, the correct company. Because again, it's the more and more, we're very fortunate to have you on our team, Brady. And I'd be saying that whether you were hosting this with me or not, we are very fortunate as E4 team members and the advisors we work with. But really, you help us really make sure we're getting the right contract, right company. So I had our producer fill out our quote request form. I'm not sure if you want to maybe share your screen real quick and can pull that up. And once that was done, connected with Brady and really kind of got the process rolling. So if you want to show what that looks like, Brady, and talk a little bit about what you remember of this particular case after you're looking through it.
All right, just make sure, are we on the right screen there?
Yep.
And is it in presentation format yet? Not
nope.
yet?
Not yet.
Okay, let's see. There we go.
Now you're good.
Now we're there. Yeah, Steve. So when we started here, there are multiple intake carriers, and other IMOs have different intake forms. And over my 30-some years, I kind of developed and came down to this, basic form. So the first part, pretty pertinent information about the client, height, weight, age, state of residence, and then some quick questions. Are you on any current medications? Do you use tobacco, nicotine products? And then a few of those catch-all questions that could kind of trip people up. And, again, anxiety, depression, not so much a big thing for life insurance, but a pretty big issue for disability insurance. So just some catch-alls that, hey, by looking at their medications and by looking at the some potential conditions, we can ask some additional questions, because again, you want to get those answers up front before you put it into underwriting, because once you put it in, you have a lot less control. And then you have occupation, important. Again, if you're a CPA, kind of straightforward. Financial advisor, pretty straightforward. But, if you're a small business owner and you have multiple duties, from, maybe you're doing some production stuff, you're, doing inventory, you're marketing, your sales, administration, payroll. You can have a lot of different hats. So really trying to get the best occupation class, because the better the occupation class, the lower the premium is for it. And again, we want to paint the picture to the underwriter, not have the underwriter paint the picture for us in terms of what your client looks like. And then kind of the business side, what do they earn? We look at W-2 plus net distribution if you're an owner, net Schedule C, straight W-2. So again, depending on how you're paid, we kind of need to know that and kind of look at the average of the last couple of years. Because if you have 1 year that's out of line, they may try to average it a little bit in there. So, that's kind of from a business standpoint. And then we want to know about your group benefits. Hey, what if your employer does offer it? What do they have? Kind of explain it to us. What other individual coverage might they have? So, do they have a personal policy that they've already, purchased? If you want us to take a look at it, I mean, that's one thing we will do is take a look at the group summary plan document. It's like a 60-page document that every employee has the right to get from their employer. And in about 5 minutes, I can take a look at it and tell you how it works and point out all the pitfalls that then you can explain to your client. And the same with an individual plan. I mean, sometimes people buy them for whatever the reason somebody recommended, but they really didn't know what they bought. Again, it's understanding what they have. And then kind of, is there any other thing we should know about the client? Don't really go into plan design options, because most advisors, are really looking for us to help them fit that and don't know what those features are. And that's something that we then explain during the process.
One thing, just a real quick pivot on this form before we get back to the case study. That top gray box for Group LTD, I think that's a really important. Yeah, on this page here, you've
Yep.
got what part of the income is covered. I think this really makes it a good, easy way for the advisor to have a conversation with the client about just asking the question, what part of your income is covered with your group disability? Most of the time, people think everything, where majority of the time, if it's not salary, a lot of those group contracts aren't covering it. So it's just another catch-all for our advisors to really have some additional value add to their clients.
Correct. And, I guess that's kind of led us to our case, Steve. The advisor did a great job and filled out this form, and you sent it over. And, the first thing I took a look, I said, well, we have a couple more questions, Steve, based on the details on there. And the advisor went back and got some additional answers. And we took it out, and the client wasn't as healthy as he should have been or could have been. So we came out, not saying he would have been declined, but I think, definitely would not have been a policy as applied for, probably a limited benefit duration, maybe an extra premium rating, along with a couple exclusion riders. Again, not what you want to present to a 40-year-old executive of a company. So we kind of had that said, that wonderful thing called Google, went out and took a look and said, hey, Steve, did you know there are 6 executives listed on their website? Do you think we could maybe present it? He goes, I don't know. let's take a run at it. And the producer and the executive got us in touch with the CFO. Next thing you know, we're on the phone explaining the benefits of the program, and the next day we get a census of their 6 executives and put this plan together.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's part of that executive GSI plan. So for maybe some of those that haven't done an executive GSI plan, or sounds like we're talking Russian. What is it, and what do you need to quote one of those GSI plans?
Yep. And I just slid this down. Again, and these marketing pieces are on our website, and I'll give a plug to our marketing side. We have a plethora of marketing materials, presentations, different things to use with clients on our site. So as an advisor, please go in there and check, because we're creating new pieces all the time to help your business. But this is one we created. Kind of, what is guarantee issue? Again, it's not a product, it's a program. So really, it's the same individual product that you would buy, if you went to your financial planner, but it's on a guarantee issue basis. So no ratings, declines, exclusion riders. Essentially, we use census information from the employer. That's the income documentation, and the employer signs off on it. Now, each individual, the plan design is set at the employer level, not the individual. So it's 75% less what other coverage they have, or plan restoration like 60%. With COLA, with catastrophic, again, those plan riders are decided at the employer level, not the employee level. But each person at the end of the process gets a personally owned, employer paid individual disability contract. And if they ever leave the employer, they can take over the premium payments and pay the same premium as when they got it on this side. So, definitely a great program that carriers have been doing, probably for the last 30 some years. It's really come into light now, as incomes has shifted. You mentioned earlier, Steve, about the bonuses not being covered. Like 90 some percent of employer LTD plans do not cover incentive compensation. Well, again, that's for a lot of executives, bonuses, commissions, that's a big chunk of money that isn't covered under their plan. Well, the more you make, your benefits are taxable if your employer pays for it. So again, another layer, again, we have a piece out there that's, when 60% isn't 60%. Again, that's kind of evaluating the plan. But again, in this side, we really kind of look at your target markets as law firms, accounting, pretty much executive groups, so the non-target markets, chiropractic, dentistry are pretty much no-goes. Retail, mainly in retail, meaning the rank and file, high turnover type industries. Now, again, they say manufacturing. Well, yeah, the floor people who push the brooms and run the machines, that's not a target for this program. But, the front office where you see cars on Saturday morning, those are the individuals that we're looking at with this type of program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's fantastic. I mean, and to kind of get into the next part, down on the bottom right, I mean, what do we need to get started? I mean, somebody wants to take a swing at an at bat. What do we need to get started?
Yeah, so again, you just that census that includes, some sort of employee identifier, gender, date of birth, and then what is their occupation, and then if, specific duties if it's not clear, based on that, their income broken down between base and incentive compensation, and then any sort of enforced disability coverage. Their group LTD, copy of the summary plan document would be great. Again, just knowing what they have so that we can put it all together and see what they qualify for. Again, that census, we can run multiple options on it. So, whether you have, five lives is typically the minimum that they'll start considering these plans. Again, they kind of take a look at gender, age mix, incomes, and that's kind of how they underwrite this. But really from a simple census, we can put together some options. Again, sometimes you come in and, as I said before, like in this case we worked on, they're not uninsurable, they're just a little less than insurable. So how can we make sure this individual gets a coverage? And then, of course, asking that one more question. I think that's one thing we're talking about here is, hey, one more question. Again, plan if you get sick or hurt and can't work. You've already asked that because we've already gotten to that decision. But now, if you can't get the policy or get it as you want it, what are your other alternatives?
Yeah, and I think like you mentioned, Brady. I mean, we quickly were on the phone with the advisor and the CFO of this company. After we got the information to quote, again, I can't speak highly enough of Brady and Aaron on our executive benefits team here at E4. Went to market, not only got multiple designs, but again went to multiple carriers as well. So we were able to make sure we were finding the right carrier and the right design. We ended up going to them, presenting 3 plan designs. Ultimately narrowed it down to a plan that covered 60% of their base income and 40% of their incentive compensation. So again, it's kind of like that menu of what would you like, and build it to suit the coverage needs as well as put it in budget.
That's a good point, Steve. We are totally carrier agnostic when we come to this. It's really looking at the situation, the solution, and what's the best carrier for it. So, we have a number of carriers that we work with, kind of look out there, and, some are better than others at certain occupations, certain incomes, industries, etc. So we really try to take it out there to put the best plan forward for the advisor and the client. Again, kind of what was the enrollment like in this group for it?
Yeah, I know
What did that look like?
it was fantastic, and I jotted down a few notes. Just, I mean, it was super simple, and really all these GSI opportunities are, but really we got once we made the decision on the plan design, we got a formal offer letter signed by the advisor and employer. Um, Again, we got the census that contained the personal information for enrollment, and really that helped us here at E4, as well as in this example, Emeritus, put together the application so it's minimal effort for the executives to do that. So we can build those based on the census. An announcement went out to all the participants explaining the new benefit, and then individual application packets were created. Now, some carriers are going to have census enrollment, so there's no application needed at all. But again, we were able to build 98% of the application, so there's very minimal stuff that the clients or the executive had to come with. Got everything submitted to the carriers for review, received the policies, initial bill for delivery, and ultimately got the policies placed in force. So it's just, again, step by step. Here's where we're at. Here's what's next. Here's what's coming, and kept her going.
So how long about did it take? It's not to say it's easy. So from the date we received the first request to the date we made the decision and delivered the policies, but how long did that take?
Start to finish, it was probably 60 days.
Again, that's you took a fully underwritten. It may take 60 days just to get medical records for a client these days, depending on the facility. So,
Yep.
wow, 60 days. So
Yeah.
again, we got 6 policies approved as applied for in 60 days. What was the annual premium for that case?
It was about a $10,000 a year case, but again, at the anniversaries, we're going to see increases as incomes go up. So can this coverage, because again, it's a percentage up to the max. So you're going to see the increases as there's additional executives that fall into this carve out class. They're going to get added onto it as well. So again, every time that happens, it's all first year premium, first year commission for the advisors, and again, it's more of your clients that are properly protected. So just a great solution. And again, I can't say enough, going back to that disability intake form that we've got. I think back a couple years ago, and probably most of the advisors on this call, I got somebody that wants disability insurance. Awesome. Let's send it out to get a quote. And we present it, don't know any of the medical information, and it's going to come back, and it's going to go from a great opportunity into an upset client. More than likely, like you said, Brady, because we're looking at exclusions and limitations and extra premiums, where taking the extra step up front, making sure not only are we getting the right carrier, but we're figuring out, is this person good to go? Or are they less than insurable or totally uninsurable? And in this case, it really went from one case to 6 clients, larger premium. So it's good for the insured who got coverage they otherwise wouldn't have been able to. And it's also good for the advisor, because now they've got 6 clients instead of 1. 10,000 a premium instead of 1,500, if best case scenario, if it would have went through and they were insurable. So
No, perfect. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help you. Again, if you have any sort of case like this, talk to your RVP, loop me in. Again, so there's no case is a worthless case. Again, there's always value in taking a look and being able to provide options. Today might not be the day they do it. I mean, this one just happened to be a need and they got it done right away. Sometimes, they just wait, and maybe it's timing from a budget standpoint. They had an increase. So again, it's at least showing your clients something different in this world that most advisors aren't showing them. So let's see here. 1 second. All right. Had a thought I had a question in the chat box, but all right. Well, while we wait for any final questions, I'd like to remind you that today's brew and our full library are recorded and shared on the brew blog and on our website, e4.insurance. Now for our giveaway. Steve, pick a number between 1 and 25.
Oh, I'm going to go with the GOAT of all time in NBA basketball, Michael Jordan, number 23.
Number 23. That's Justin Manning. We'll be in touch with you, Justin. And again, thank you for joining us on the brew. On next week's brew, we wrap up with Brad Mills, Regional Vice President, and Mike Polonsky, Assistant Vice President and Senior Actuary at Symetra, to discuss their first of a kind rider package. This package provides a unique combination of cancer care benefits and services to help your clients live longer and healthier lives. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next week on The Brew.